Why does it always seem that after the 4th of July holiday is celebrated here in the United States, that summer puts on her sneakers and makes a mad dash to autumn? It was strange for me this year that I wasn't in the mood to celebrate the 250th birthday of our nation, considering my love for the 18th century. Rather, I retreated into more prayer, and I pondered the words of St. Augustine when he wrote, "To know God is to know life. To serve God is freedom, and to praise God is the soul's joy and delight." I also retreated back in time, taking a class on how to process flax and turn it into linen. Flax is a plant that is associated with purity and resurrection. In the Bible, priestly clothing was made of only the finest linen. And a little fun fact, Rahab hid the Israelite spies beneath stalks of flax that she was drying on her rooftop. But before my classes begun, I went to the tavern to enjoy a candlelit breakfast with other women who share my same passion for the 18th century and for their quest to live simply. After wonderful food and wonderful conversation, it was time to head to the old church for my first class, where I learned that during the American Revolution, tea wasn't the only item that was boycotted. Fabric was as well. Women refused to buy any material from England, so they dusted off their long, dormant spinning wheels in the attic to make their own fabric, which became known as homespun. On August 31st, 1769, Anna Harrington of Lexington, Massachusetts, staged the first spinning protest. There'd be 60 more to follow over the next couple of years, and these acts of revolt were held in the public sphere, churches and town squares. Newspapers often reported on these spinning protests, giving the women the nickname Daughters of Liberty. Well, before I could spin anything, I need to process the flax. It was hard work pounding it to loosen up the fibers. I could just imagine the women in the fields doing this together, singing, laughing, perhaps even gossiping. I think hard work is made easier when you do it in a group. As a cool breeze blew from the river, I began to have visions of weaving my own 18th century coverlet. I soon discovered that such fancy creations were left to the professionals.
Was it woven in the home? Was it woven by a fancy weaver? Well, most of the time by the fancy weaver.
Yeah. And so it was back to me learning how to process flax with the shiving process, which was then followed by putting it through the hackle tool, in which the blades are very sharp. I cut myself several times. But in the end, you are left with soft, strong, airy fibers to spin into thread. I cannot wait to get back to Old Stonewall Farm to continue mastering the art of spinning. Yes, prayers and hopes swirl at the spinning wheel, and that the freedom of the soul and spirit truly comes from the holiness of a homespun life. My friends, welcome to Old Stonewall Farm. Well, as you can see, I have a ways to go to master the art of the drop spindle, which would not have been used in colonial America, but rather the drop spindle was very popular in medieval times in Europe. But I like it because it takes up less space. In this old house, I really don't have room for a big spinning wheel. The spinning wheel that you see sometimes, that is not operational. I wish it could be. Maybe I can fix it. But after I took this class, I realized that I think I could just handle the drop spindle and not a big spinning wheel that still has That takes a skill set. When I first came to this area to serve as a pastor, everyone in my congregation knew how much I loved everything from the 18th century. And there was a lady who caught wind that I was on the search for a spinning wheel. And she had one for me. And I was so excited to hear about that, until I learned that the spinning wheel she had was huge. It would not fit in my little salt box that I first lived in when I came up this way. I had to say no to it. It was a beautiful spinning wheel, but it was just too much real estate it was taking in my old house. So while the drop spindle might not be 18th century correct in America, I do like it for its ease, and you could just take it anywhere. And when I master finally the art of spinning and the fibers into yarn using this, basically I could just walk and talk, and Fritz can take a look at it. Fritz, you better not come too close to this, because I think his fur would be wonderful to spin. Let's see. Okay. My husband hates this when I do this, but I'm like, oh my gosh, look. Everyone's going to get Fritz sweaters for Christmas. Anyway, I got this drop spindle, in fact, from a woman in the current church that I am helping out. And she has all these wonderful items to give to me. She even gave me these wool carders in which you can then process the fibers. None of her children want any of this. And furthermore, if anything was to happen to her, she said, they would look at these items and not know what to do with them. They have found a good home here at Old Stonewell Farm. Of course, I do have high hopes of planting flax and trying to process it myself, but I have given up on the dream of being able to make my own material, to make my own 18th century gown. That's going to take a lot of flax, a lot of time. It might take years for me. So if I do grow flax, it will not be to make a full-blown dress, but I will start small and perhaps aim for a coaster. Oh my, the fun I have here. But it was really wonderful to step back in time and to learn these skills and to learn about the colonial connection to spinning, in which the material was called homespun, and that became the material of a revolutionary movement. There is a holiness in the homespun life that I am truly embracing, leaving all of the protest aside and the political stance that these women were making when they took out their spinning wheels from the attic and they blew off the dust and they began making their own material. Beyond that, I have found the act of spinning, of transforming flax into thread, into yarn. The very movement of it is meditative. It is a prayer. And to see that transformation, it reminds me that the holiness of a homespun life is in the fact that God is always taking who we are and transforming it. Many of you know that I have been struggling with this anticipatory grief of growing older, of losing the life that I once knew, because with age comes change. But I realized too that this transformation of flax into linen, it is a reminder that God is always working with us, that there is always more beauty to come, that this is not the end. Hopes, dreams, love, happiness, regret, anger. God can take all those threads of emotion and create something beautiful, change it, transform it, give us a purpose once again. Now, ladies of the colonial times here in America, they did earn the nickname of the Daughters of Liberty because of their spinning bees that they had. And I thought it was so incredible that this class that I took was in fact taking place in an old church. They had all the pews removed, and this is a church that they use as a workshop. at Eastfield Village, where I take many of my 18th century history classes and how to master the skills, which, by the way, the end of July, I will be on another trip to Eastfield Village, taking a week-long class on how to make a fireplace, a Rumford fireplace and an outdoor oven, which I'm looking forward to because my current outdoor oven, I don't think I have the right ventilation. It's working fine, but I think I will learn a lot from the class I'm going to take as to how to make a safe and operational fireplace. But it was really appropriate that this class, this spinning class, was taking place in an old church because, as I said, a lot of the spinning bees did take place in public areas and also in churches. So that was kind of cool to find that out. But it wasn't just the Daughters of Liberty who used spinning as a political act. Gandhi himself was a spinner. He would travel with a small portable spinning wheel. Even when he was imprisoned, he would have his spinning wheel. He found spinning not only an act of revolution, he found it to be a spiritual act, and it grounded him. I want to read to you some of the quotes that I discovered that Gandhi said about spinning. Take to spinning to find peace of mind. The music of the wheel is a balm to your soul. I believe that the yarn we spin is capable of mending the broken warp and weft of our life. Think about that again. The yarn that we spin is capable of mending our life. The broken warp and weft, which is the weaving terms, the warp and the weft. I don't know which one. I don't know if the warp is horizontal or vertical and what the weft is. That's my next adventure, learning how to weave and learning the right terms. So for any of you weavers out there, my apologies that I totally messed that up. And then Gandhi also wrote, the spinning wheel represents to me the hope of the masses. He said that I see God in every thread I draw on the spinning wheel. The call of the spinning wheel is the noblest of all because it is a call to love. Who would have thought that the simple, primitive act of spinning could be so powerful? And yet when we slow down and we don't take for granted how things are done or the old techniques and don't poo-poo them, when we actually take the time to think about what we're doing, what we have been given, to think about the transformation that we have in our hands, the same transformation that God wants to do in our lives. It was an incredible class to take. And yes, I did dress up in my 18th century outfit on the second day because I was surrounded by all these people who were reenactors and had the same passion as I did. And so there was another woman who said, if you wear your outfit tomorrow, I will too. So I got my outfit on and I got into the car to drive to the class. And as I got there, I kept thinking, what if she decided not to wear her outfit? I'll be the only one in this class dressed as an 18th century woman. And luckily she was in her outfit as well. But yeah, I'm still kind of shy when I put the outfit on in public. I like to have it here in the privacy of my own home and for all of you. But something else happened during that class that was a God moment for me. During a break, there was a woman who was constantly on the phone and she was missing most of the class. And at the beginning of the class, we all did our introductions and I happened to mention my love for the 18th century and of course being a pastor and a writer and so forth. At the break, she came up to me and she said, I have a question for you. And I said, sure, I hope I could answer it. And she said, I know you can. You're a pastor. I'm like, okay. So here we are in this old church from the 1700s during our spinning class. And she mentioned how her mother is in California in the ICU, very sick, and she's very worried. And she was planning to leave the class early and take a flight out to California. And she wanted to know, can a minister go into ICU and say a prayer? And I said, yes, we can. Double check with the hospital, of course. Maybe things have changed ever since COVID. Maybe there's more safety protocols in place. It's like, okay, I wanted to know, because I want to call my mother's pastor, and she started to talk to me some more. And it was in that moment, in this quiet church, again, everybody else was on a break, and it was just her and myself here, surrounded by flax and yarn and spinning wheels and everything that spins this life together and makes it beautiful. There we were in the middle of it. And I asked her, may I pray for you? Of course, she said yes. And it was the first time in a long time that I felt like a pastor. I felt like I was honoring my call to be there for God's people. Like, I feel that way with Old Stonewall Farm, but in the churches today that I enter into and serve, many times I feel like I'm just there to perform, or they want a cruise director to lead them for the next potluck dinner, or a new idea to grow the church. How can we entertain people? And so there at this class, this spinning class, I was in the presence of God. And I prayed for her mother. I prayed for healing hope. I prayed for calm. I prayed for safe journeys as she makes her way to California to be with her mom. We prayed and we cried, and then she hugged me and she said, it is not a mistake that we have met one another. And like the flax, we are spinning into a strong tie that binds. We have bound our faith together, our hearts together in prayer. I want to ordain that woman for what she said was beautiful. So she left the class, and we continued our lessons on how to process the flax and how to get it to the place where we can then spin it into beautiful thread. It was a wonderful class, quite wonderful. The holiness of a homespun life is not to be taken for granted, for homespun life reminds us that everything we need is all around us. The simple things, the material of nature can be transformed to clothe us, to feed us, to comfort us, to make us smile. We need to see what we have available that can be transformed into a life pleasing for God. Homespun is now taking on a new meaning for me, not just meaning cloth. Homespun means to me that I need to keep anchoring myself, to keep strengthening the bond to God in prayer, and never ever fail to reach out to Him, to turn to Him, and never ever forget, especially on the days when another gray hair pops up, especially on the days when my knees are aching and I can't run on the rail trail as quickly as I used to. On those days, I need to cry out to God and remember, God is not done with me. There's a story from Hans Christian Andersen that I want to share with you. It's a short fairy tale about a flax plant, its journey to become thread, to become linen, to become an outfit, to become pulp for paper. It's a story of how this beautiful plant thought that life was just so amazing and easy until he realized to get to the beautiful parts, it involved a lot of struggle, challenge, pain. And yet, when he got through all of that, he got to see who he became. The story starts with this beautiful paragraph. The flax was in full bloom. It had pretty blue flowers as delicate as the wings of a moth, or even more so. The sun shone and the showers watered it, and this was just as good for the flax as it is for little children to be washed and then kissed by their mother. They look much prettier for it, and so did the flax. People say that I look exceedingly well, said the flax, and that I am so fine and long that I shall make a beautiful piece of linen. How fortunate I am! It makes me so very happy. It is such a pleasant thing to know that something can be made of me. Let's just stop there for a second. Think about that sentence. It's a pleasant thing to know that something can be made of me. Isn't that what we all want? To know that we have value? That something pleasant can be made of our lives? The flax then said, how the sunshine cheers me, and how sweet and refreshing is the rain. My happiness overpowers me. No one in the world can feel happier than I. Oh, we have all been there before the other shoe drops, before our world comes crashing, right? We all know those moments that everything is right in the world, but we have lived long enough to know there's always more to come. And the fern in the pasture reminds the flax about that. You do not know the world yet as well as I do, for my sticks are knotty. And then the fern sung quietly, mournfully, this song. Snip, snap, snur, bass lore, the song is ended. Now, I have no idea what snip, snap, snur, bass lore means. I tried looking that up. Maybe it was just a saying in Hans Christian Andersen's time. Maybe I'm trying to read too much into it. No, it is not ended, said the flax. Tomorrow the sun will shine and the rain will descend. I feel that I am growing. I feel that I am in full blossom. I am the happiest creature of all. And then the flax's journey to become a beautiful piece of linen begins. He is harvested, he is cut down, he is roasted in the fires to dry out, and he doesn't understand what's happening. I am beautiful, I'm going to become this beautiful piece of linen, why does this hurt? And then his tough exterior is pounded to soften it, to loosen up the fibers. And then he is shredded through the carding machine to make it soft, to get rid of all of the little knots. And then finally, he is woven into linen. And he's like, oh my goodness, all that pain, all of that hurt. Wow, I can't believe I had to go through that. But here I am, a beautiful piece of linen. But eventually the linen fabric wore out. And so then that material was soaked in water and softened and made it fall apart and then mashed into pulp to make paper. And once again, the flax couldn't believe all of the pain he was going through, this transformation. I did not expect to feel so hurt. But he overcame that and became paper. And then he realized, I have the incredible opportunity to be a piece of paper, words written on me to share knowledge with other people. And so he was happy for a while until all the paper was just bound up in a piece of thread and then just stored away someplace. And then years later, somebody cleaned out that closet, saw all these old pieces of paper, including the one that little flax had turned into, and it was to be thrown into the fire. The flax couldn't believe once again what was happening, and he wrote as he burned, now I am mounting straight up to the sun, said the voice in the flames. Then a number of tiny beings, as many in number as the flowers on the flax had been, and invisible to mortal eyes, floated above them. They were even lighter and more delicate than the flowers from which they were born, and nothing remained of the paper but black ashes. These little beings danced upon it. The children all out of school, and the schoolmaster was the last of all after they burned the paper. It was good fun, and they sang over the dead ashes. Snip, snap, snur, bass, lore, the song is ended. Hans Christian Andersen, though, didn't end his story of the flax plant with that line, the song is ended. Rather, he took his pen to the paper and he wrote this ending. But the little invisible beings said, "The song is never ended. The most beautiful is yet to come." Through the good and the bad, we are being transformed and we are never being forgotten. Through the good and the bad, God is making us into a new creation. And during the bad, trying times, the painful moments, the challenges, those moments that you wonder, what is going on? I didn't want this. But we have to remember that through those very moments of despair and challenges, that God is doing his best work, transforming us into something new. And Hans Christian Andersen captures that so beautifully. And I love it. I love it when he says, the song is never ended. The most beautiful is yet to come. So I cannot wait to see you again. I'm going to continue to try to master my spinning. Right now, the yarn, the thread is thin in some places and thick in the others, but the instructor of the class said that was normal. It will take a while. And hopefully someday I will get a loom and learn how to weave this into a piece of material to make a coaster or a pot holder. Yes, I'm aiming small. It's good to start small, I think. Well, until next time, many blessings to you, and may you remember the song never ever is ended, that the most beautiful is yet to come. Blessings to you.